9 of those 35 patients were
Okay.
listed as unvaccinated, and they
Okay,
actually were.
interesting. Wow.
So then I updated the system and found out there were 30 out of 35 patients that day in the hospital fully vaccinated. And at that point, our county vaccination rate was about 45, 46%. And yet, who's in the hospital sick? And I did bring this up, and I was told, well, it's a lot of them are elderly and things like that, and they're more likely to be vaccinated, and that there's a lot of things that could affect those numbers. But it's still odd, right? Every patient in the ICU that day was fully vaccinated. Where are our sick, unvaccinated people? I mean,
Especially
we do
that's
get them, don't get me wrong, but
we're not
compared,
overflowing because of them.
right,
We
compared
clearly
to our
see it.
vaccinated patients, they're in there and they're sick. And I'm not saying just from COVID, I'm talking about all these other weird conditions. And many of these vaccinated people are actually on their 3rd, 4th, 5th admissions after the vaccine. I actually spoke with a VAER's representative the other day about this, because I said to her, I said, you know, I've got a lady I'm reporting, she called me about, and I said, she's back in the hospital again. This will be her 5th update to VAER's. And I told her it's a daunting task, because every time they get readmitted and they have a case number, you're supposed to update VAER's and let them know, hey, they're back in the hospital with a new condition.
Wow.
Yeah,
There's nurses and doctors protesting, taking to the streets now all across this nation because of vaccine mandates in their hospitals. And I've said on this show, I can only guess. I'm not working in a hospital, but I worked for the Doctors Television Show.
Mm-hmm.
I've worked with doctors and nurses I won an Emmy Award doing that work for 6 years for CBS. I've never met nurses and doctors that don't believe in vaccines or don't sort of get the vaccine if they're told to get the vaccine. This is this crazy anomaly taking place. And I can only assume that for a group of people that normally just sort of believe in vaccinations to be walking away from their jobs the way they are, they've obviously seen some of the things that you've seen. They've seen something that's scaring them and making them really nervous about the vaccine. So under these circumstances, you're in New York, I got to believe the pressure's on. After what you've seen, are you going to get this vaccine?
Absolutely not. I'm terrified.
Really?
I am more afraid of this vaccine than I am of COVID.
Okay. How is that working out with your hospital?
Well, my last day is going to be the 27th of September. I will be let go from my position.
Just because you won't get the vaccination?
Correct. And as I understand it, it's supposed to be a voluntary termination. I'm not volunteering to leave. I love my job. I want my job. My community needs me, but I'm scared. I'm scared because of what I've seen.
And when you think of your career, you know, all the time in this hospital, these are your friends, these are your patients, this is your community. The thought that these may be your last days getting to do your job, what do you reflect on in your career and coming to this moment?
It's very difficult because I am very well respected in my community. I cannot tell you. And I haven't just been at the hospital. Before I had my kids, I always worked 2 and 3 jobs, and I worked in an offices and urgent cares and different things. The community knows me. I love my community. I serve them well. And the fact that I'm not going to be able to do that devastates me. It devastates me. Because when I leave, who's going to be their voice? Who's going to be these people's voice when they come in? Because they're going to come in with their vaccine injuries after I'm gone. And who's going to be their voice? They don't have one. And that is what devastates me, because they deserve a voice. They deserve to be heard. Many of them can't work anymore. They're on disability. They're dead. They got children. They got lives. Many of them don't have disability insurance, and they got hospital bills mounting. Well, they don't have a voice because they're being told they're crazy. You know, that is what devastates me the most. And, you know, again, I'll give up my career and many will. I got many on my side who are walking away from careers that they love because they're so scared. And that's the truth. And I have 4 particular patient families that I think about when I thought about coming on this show, because I talk to them on a regular basis, and I help them, you know, I help them. And And that's what I'm supposed to do. That's the job I signed up for.